I mean, where are you really? You'd know if you knew about GPS or GIS or other positional technologies. Take the Super Geek Challenge, fill out the form, and if the mailman can find you, you might just win free stuff. And now, back to the men who know about tweaking their devices.
Oh. Thank you.
It's clever.
That's very clever. Believe it or not, Windows is not the smartest operating system in the world. No, in fact, installing and removing devices can clog up the device manager. You'd think when you uninstall something, it would take it out.
You'd think so,
You'd think
but in fact, you can look in your device manager. There might be, different iterations of the same device in there, which can cause problems.
This is why, ultimately, we almost always recommend a clean install for a troubled computer. We say, erase the hard drive and start from scratch. But if you don't want to do that, here's a short-term fix that is much the same. It'll clear out a lot of that clutter and maybe improve your reliability, might even improve the performance. First thing to do is go into safe mode. Now, we're going to do this in Windows XP, but it's pretty much the same for any version of Windows. Why safe mode? Because that loads the fewest number of drivers, and that means that you can modify these drivers without getting in a lot of trouble, like hanging your system.
So we're going to go into the device manager, go to Start.
Actually, the easiest way is just, if my computer is on the desktop, right-click and go to Properties. And then now, in Windows 95, 98, and ME, the Device Manager is right there. There's a Device Manager tab. In order to see it in Windows NT 2000 XP, you have to click the Hardware tab, and then you'll see a button for the Device Manager. This is one of the ways. You can also look at it in the Component Manager, which we showed yesterday. And here they are. The Device Manager is basically a list of all the installed devices on your system. That was kind of like Jim Lang in the dating game. And here they are.
But less exciting,
but
really.
Much less exciting. Disk drives, you've got your display adapters.
First thing, we really only have one.
Well, that's the first thing to look for is duplicates.
Good.
If you've got more than one, you're probably going to want to delete at least the duplicate. Oftentimes, in order to get Windows to work right, you've got to delete both of them.
And then when you reboot, Windows is going to reinstall the driver that you need.
We've all seen this happen where we have two, we delete one, it then thinks you've deleted the only one and reinstalls the second one.
Two again.
Right. So the first thing to look for actually isn't even duplicates, but exclamation marks or red X's. That means these are devices that aren't working or are not currently enabled. This system's working pretty well. We shouldn't have any compatibility problems. Everything's working as it's supposed to. But it's not a bad idea. Let's say you're having trouble with your video card, to actually right-click the device and actually remove it by uninstalling it. Now, it'll say remove in Windows 95 and 98, or you can go to Properties and there'll be a remove button there. Now, all that does, I want you to understand, is it does not, in fact, delete the software, the driver software from the hard drive. It merely removes its entry from the device manager. If it's buggy driver software, it may stay there, and when you replug and play, all it's going to do is reinstall the buggy device driver software. So sometimes that's why you want to click the Driver tab and look at driver details and see what the driver files are. This is only for experts. You can get yourself in trouble. In this case, these are the two files, and if you really were having trouble with your NVIDIA GeForce 2 Ultra, you'd want to delete those two files. Now, sometimes files are shown here that are not, in fact, exclusive to the video card. Don't delete those. Look for a file name that makes sense. Here it's NV4. That's probably the NVIDIA drivers. It's okay to delete those, but you may see other things that have to do with with the rest of the system, like monitor drivers and stuff. Don't delete those. But if I'm having trouble with NVIDIA, deleting that sys file and that DLL file and then reinstalling the drivers is really the best way to start from scratch.
Now, in the case of some of these devices, do you actually need the driver physically on a disk? So that when you reboot?
And that's the point. If I merely uninstall it here, when it reboots, the software's still on the hard drive. It'll just pull it off the hard drive. I will need it on a disk if I actually delete those files, and that's very important. Always a good idea to get the latest and have that available for when it asks for it. It is a good idea, especially when upgrading your video drivers. We've seen conflicts with earlier versions on the hard drive at the same time as newer versions. Not a bad idea to delete those files and start from scratch.
There you have it, cleaning up the device manager. Be sure to check out thescreensavers.com for this tip, as well as an explanation of components in the device manager, so you're going to know what you're doing once you get there.
Just to recapitulate, look for exclamation points and red X's. Those are things that have problems. Delete those. Reboot.
Or duplicates.
Duplicates, same thing. Delete both of them and reboot. Christy on the Intel Tech TV Netcam Network. Hello, Christy.
Hi, Leo.
How are you?
Hi, Martin.
Hey, Christy. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Darcy rocks.
Yes, she does.
Look at that. She's got a Darcy Rock sign. Oh, Darcy's happy.
That's what Dr. Drew says, too.
I heard it's her birthday, so tell her happy birthday.
I didn't know that.
She has not told us anything about that.
How does Christy from Santa Clara know about this and we're in the dark?
Happy 21st birthday, Darcy. That's wonderful.
29.
What can we do for you, Christy?
I wanted to know about browser-safe colors.
Oh, that's a good question.
So browser-safe colors so that people surfing using different operating systems or browsers like Netscape or Internet Explorer will be able to see the same thing no matter what they go to your site using.
Are you a web designer, Christy?
Yes, I put up a JavaScript tool that helps people make the colors for their custom color scroll bars in Internet Explorer.
Oh,
But a web
that's
designer
great.
says she prefers browser-safe colors, but I don't know really what that's all about.
Let me give credit where credit's due. Browser-safe colors, the term, as far as I know, was coined by a woman named Linda Wyman, who is one of the people who taught us all how to do web pages about 6 or 7 years ago. She's still teaching people and is really wonderful on teaching people how to do web pages. She coined the term browser-safe colors. Let me see if I can find WebMonkey, which is a great place for webmasters to go to find out about things like browser-safe colors. Let me see. They had an article a couple of years ago where they tested the so-called browser-safe colors.
And I guess the idea here is that there are 256 possible colors. However, only 216 of them are actually browser-safe, that they're going to show up the same no matter what system you're using.
Let me show you Linda's original browser-safe palette here. This is at Linda, LYNDA.com. She's the person who coined this term and came up with this. These are colors that, if you use these in your website, are pretty much, she says, guaranteed to work no matter what the operating system, no matter what the browser. It's really more about browsers than it is operating systems. But also, no matter what the color depth of the user. You know, some users have their desktop set for 256 colors, some for 16,000, some for 2 million. And you want your set page to look the same. Use these colors. Now, this is the funny thing. I'm going to go back now to WebMonkey. They did a bunch of testing. And this is the bad news. Are you ready for this?
Oh, wait, you're not going to say that Linda was wrong.
Linda was a little bit optimistic. According to these guys, if you're going to pages where there are people with 8-bit, if you're going to have a page with people with 8-bit color, you really only have 22 colors you can use that are guaranteed to look real, and this is them, and they're ugly. So, Christy, we're not going to...
It's like Easter.
They're not going to recommend that. I think it's probably safe to say nowadays that you can assume most of your users are using modern operating systems with at least 16,000 colors, and that you can use the full 16-bit, or 65,000 colors, the full 16-bit color set, and you'll probably be pretty close. Okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, don't worry too much about those web-safe colors, but I do recommend, if you're curious about this subject, to go to webmonkey.com and read this article, The Death of the Web-Safe Color Palette. We'll put a link to it on our webpage because they did a lot of testing, and it's really, the results were quite surprising and interesting. They also linked to lynda.com, LYNDA.com, and her palette of the 216 web-safe colors. It's a great question. It's kind of a trip back in time. I, as a webmaster, used to worry about that all the time, and tools like Dreamweaver will actually, you know, have the palette for you and enforce that if you ask it to. And I just gave it up a while ago because well, think about it. We put pictures on there that are 24-bit pictures, and we presume that they're going to look like real pictures on most people's systems. And in most cases, they do. Good question, Christy.
Thanks, Christy.
Like
and, you know, it sounds confusing to people when you hear only 256 colors. Well, it's a value between 0 and 255 for red, blue, and green.
Right.
And then it's the mix of all things. That's how we get so many millions.
Right. 8 bits equals 256. 16 bits equals 65,000. With 16 bits, you can get pretty realistic color reproduction. But for true photorealistic color reproduction, you're going to need at least 24 bits. That's 4 million colors in order to have every shade that you need to make Martin's face look as lovely as it does. Look at all those colors.
Thanks, Christy.
Now, for my shirts,
yeah,
32 bits. Easy, baby.
Coming up next, set Liam Makelem loose with a mini disc. And what do you get? Some very interesting noise. Stick around and have a listen. Look at him go.